All right, so this is something that I've been thinking about doing for a while, and so this is my first attempt at it. I'm going to give some thoughts and reviews, reflections, and as you can tell from the thumbnail, about Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. This is going to be a non-spoiler reaction, if you will. I saw the movie opening night. Technically before opening night, it was on Thursday, our first showing here in our local town, and mixed would be the best way I can describe the way I feel right now. I feel better about it than I felt about Last Jedi, but I still don't feel that good about it. So how do we get here? What are we talking about? So for those that aren't familiar with what's going on, Disney bought Star Wars from George Lucas a few years ago, and they decided to make a sequel trilogy that began with The Force Awakens. I remember going to see that with family. It was a really big deal. Everybody was excited. We were hyped about it. I even had family members to go with me that don't normally get into Star Wars. And we went and we had a pretty good time. The issue and reflection, it was not the greatest either, but it was okay. And I compared how I felt coming out of The Force Awakens with how I felt coming out of the prequels. As you can tell, I am an OG Star Wars fan. I liked Star Wars before Star Wars was as mainstream as it is now, if you want to call it that. It's always been popular since it originated, but over time it's kind of morphed. But anywho, we went to see Force Awakens. It was pretty good. We liked it. I felt it was a rehash of New Hope. We've all heard that before. It was okay. Then, fast forward a little bit, we go and we see Rogue One, and it was fine. I enjoyed Rogue One. I really, really liked it. Then I went to see Last Jedi, and I came out of Last Jedi confused. I didn't know if I liked it. I didn't know if I hated it. I ultimately decided that it wasn't something I liked, and my whole feelings about Star Wars really changed. And then I noticed that there was this big influx of hatred, and the fandom menace was born, and all this other things. And I watched way too many YouTube videos, and all this stuff was surrounding me, all this hatred. And I understand it. I completely understand it, because it was a divisive movie. It did different things with Luke. It did different things with Leia. We got characters that don't really do anything. They have a plot line, story didn't really make sense. But this isn't the Last Jedi review, so I won't spend too much time on there. But anyway, so I saw that. That changed my expectations about things. I saw Solo. I like Solo. But nobody else seemed to want to go see Solo, so Solo died a sad Solo death. Fast forward to here we are now, Rise of Skywalker. I had very low expectations, very, very low. And I was hesitant to even really go at it, but I knew that I had to see it. And as a Star Wars movie, I feel that I'm obligated to see it. And my nephew wanted to see it, so I got him, and we went and we watched Rise of Skywalker last night. And from the get-go, I knew something was wrong, because the prior openings that I had went to for Star Wars movies that were packed, there was news of people cosplaying, there was a lot of excitement in the air, and I ordered my tickets earlier in the day on Fandango because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to get a seat. But I get there and there's no line. There's no cosplayers. There's no crowd. It's just like a normal night at our movie theater. And inwardly I'm like, uh-oh, something's not good, something's wrong. Get in there, sit down, got my popcorn, got my nephew, watching the movie. And the first thing that comes up, and I'll get into more about this in the spoiler review. The first thing that comes up is the scroll, the Star Wars scroll. And the wording of the scroll automatically did something to me. From that point forward, I was kind of thrown off about this movie. And I'll get into that a little bit later as to why. But to make a long story short, I feel this movie tried to do a couple things. Number one, it's trying to correct or bring people back, if you will, or apologize for The Last Jedi. It tries to retcon and fix a lot of things. Issues with Snoke, issues with Rey's background, issues with these other side characters and what's going on and why can Leia fly through space with the greatest of ease. They try to fix all that stuff. And they do a pretty good job of doing it. And at the end of the day, I would define The Rise of Skywalker as follows. If you are a fan of Star Wars and you're tied up in the lore and you're invested in the history of Star Wars, you're probably not going to like Rise of Skywalker. It's probably going to rub you the wrong way, and it's not going to be your cup of tea. If you are just going to see this for movie's sake, and you want to see a good sci-fi action, great special effects, you can really enjoy this movie. Of the 3 sequel movies in this sequel trilogy by Disney, this is, in my opinion, the best of the 3. Great special effects, a semi-coherent story. The characters acted like human beings for the most part, though a little cartoony at times, and I'll talk about that later too. But overall, it was a decent movie. But I would call it a sloppy movie, but it was a decent movie. So if you haven't seen it, I think it's worth going to see. You can give your own opinion. Is it in the top echelon of Star Wars movies for me? No, it is not. My favorite is unpopular, but my favorite is actually Revenge of the Sith. But the originals, I love, of course. I've seen them a million times probably. Empire Strikes Back is probably everybody's favorite, but this one is just okay. I hate to say it, but it's just okay. So go and see it. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you.